Today we are talking about top 10 developed countries across in the world. First of all, I will tell you how we define a developed country. A developed country, also known as an industrialized country, advanced countries, has highly progressed economy, usually measured by gross domestic product (GDP) and or average income per resident. They have advanced technological infrastructure and have diverse industrial and service sectors. Developed countries and their living standard are so high, and I know now question come in your mind how we come to know about their quality of life. The standard of living is GDP per capita. 2. This is a nation's gross domestic product divided by its population. These are the 10 main indicators which are generally observed in measuring the quality of life in any country. 1. GDP. 2. Distribution of income in society. 3. Employment work level. 4. Life expectancy. 5. Education standards. 6. Housing. 7. Air pollution. 8. Levels of congestion and transport. 9. Environment standard. 10. Wildlife diversity. So according to the recent research, which country is on number 10? S0 on number 10 is Germany. The most crowded country in the European Union, has probably the biggest economy on the planet and has seen its job in the global network develop consistently since reunification. The Central European nation borders 9 countries, and its scene differs, from the northern fields that range toward the North and Baltic Oceans to the Bavarian Alps in the south. Their GDP is $4 trillion, population is 82.9 million and GDP per capita is $52,386. So on number 9 is Finland. Geography characterizes the set of experiences and culture of Nordic Finland, quite possibly the most northern arriving at nations on the planet. Lined by Scandinavia, Russia, the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Bothnia, Finland and its immense stretches of vigorously forested open land goes about as a northern entryway among West and East. Their GDP is $274 billion. Population is 5.5 million and GDP per capita, $46,596. On number 8 is New Zealand. This country is English and Polynesian impacts course through pleasant New Zealand, an island country in the Pacific Ocean southeast of Australia. Early Maori pioneers surrendered sway to British intruders with the Treaty of Waitangi in 1840, and European pilgrims overwhelmed in. Today, 70% of Kiwis, a typical term for the individuals of New Zealand after a local flightless winged animal, are of European plunge. A feeling of pride has flooded among the Maori, the nation's first pilgrims, who presently represent around 14%, as country complaints become all the more transparently tended to. Their GDP is $205.0 billion. Their population is 4.9 million. GDP per capita, $40,096. On number 7 is Switzerland. Most beautiful country. Switzerland, formerly called the Swiss Federation, is a little nation in Central Europe comprised of 16,000 square miles of ice-sheet-cut Alps, lakes and valleys. It's one of the world's richest nations, and has been notable for quite a long time for its non-partisanship. GDP is $705.5 billion. Population is 8.5 million. And their GDP per capita is $65,010. Number 6 is Netherlands. Arranged along the edges of Western Europe, the Netherlands is a seaside swamp freckled with windmills, normal for its advancement around the water. 3 significant European waterways, the Rhine, Meuse and Schelde, go through neighbors Germany and Belgium into the country's bustling ports. Their GDP is $913.7 billion. Population, 17.2 million. GDP per capita, $56,489. On number 5 is Australia. Orchestrated along the edges of Western Europe, the Netherlands is a coastline swamp freckled with windmills typical for its headway around the water. Three critical European streams, the Rhine, Meuse and Scheldt, experience neighbors Germany and Belgium into the nation's clamoring ports. GDP is 1.4 trillion, population is 25.0 million and GDP per capita $52,379. On number 4 is Norway. The Kingdom of Norway is the westernmost nation in the Scandinavian promontory, made up generally of uneven landscape. Virtually the entirety of its populace lies in the south, encompassing the capital, Oslo. Norway's coastline is comprised of thousands of miles of fjords, sounds and island shores. The Norwegians built up an oceanic culture, and were dynamic all through the Viking time, building up settlements in Iceland and Greenland. And their GDP is $434.8 billion. Their population is. On number 3 is Sweden. The Kingdom of Sweden, flanked by Norway toward the west and the Baltic Sea toward the east, extends across a significant part of the Scandinavian peninsula and is probably the biggest nation in the European Union via land mass. Capital city Stockholm was asserted in the 16th century, and line questions through the Middle Ages set up the advanced country. And their GDP is $551 billion. Population is 10.2 million and their GDP per capita is $53,652. On number 2 is Denmark. The Kingdom of Denmark arose in the 10th century and incorporates 2 North Atlantic island countries, the Faroe Islands and Greenland. Alongside Sweden and Norway, it structures Scandinavia, a social district in Northern Europe. GDP $352.1 billion. Population 5.8 million. GDP per capita, PPP, $52,279. And on number 1 is Canada. Number 1. Canada takes up around 2/5 of the North American mainland, making it the second biggest nation on the planet after Russia. The nation is meagerly populated, with a large portion of its 35.5 million inhabitants living inside 125 miles of the ice line. Canada's sweeping wild toward the north assumes a huge job in Canadian character, as does the nation's standing of inviting outsiders. And their GDP is $1.7 trillion. Their population is 37.1 million and their GDP per capita $49,690. Hope you like such an informational video. Please like and share with your friends and family.